Hello and welcome. This is the channel where we talk everything Camino. I'm your host, Camino Candace, and I'm eternally Camino dreaming. Today is part 3 of the logistics series, and I'll be covering travel insurance, eSIM cards, and phone plans. First up is travel insurance. Buy it. Even if you think you won't need it, buy it. Your credit card may cover you to some extent, but there's always some sort of fine-tuned stipulation, such as 30 days out of country coverage. You have to have put the entire trip on that credit card, and maybe that's the case, maybe it's not. You would also have to check if you purchased your flights on points. Would your credit card travel insurance cover of any flight cancellations or interruptions that were purchased through a point system? So you need to double check all of the details. That's why it's best to find a different form of coverage. So things that your travel insurance should be covering are trip cancellation, trip interruption, and all medical expenses. Trip cancellation can include anything that happens before you go on your trip that prevents you from going on your trip. Trip interruption can be when you're on your trip and something happens. It'll cover you getting back home. That could even have stuff to do with connecting flights, but usually it's along your journey. You will want to look into any luggage and baggage insurance, especially for those of you traveling with checked luggage in case it's lost or damaged and you have to replace things. There's usually a dollar amount that they'll help cover and reimburse you for. So you have to check the plan. It'll vary. In terms of medical, you definitely want it all. You definitely want the dental. You want surgery. You want visits to doctors. You want to cover medication, and you want to cover flights. So when I talk about flights, one, that's in case something happens to you and you need to have an immediate family member fly out to you on Camino and bring you back. It'll cover their round trip flight as well as your return flight. There's also a coverage that comes with if something happens back home to an immediate family member, that your flight back home will be covered. Dental might sound like a weird one. Yet for those of you who've gone on Frances and some of the other routes, there's some really tricky and really steep and dangerous parts. And if you go through the forums, there's people that face plant, they trip, all sorts of things. You see the pictures of their injuries. They're getting stitches, they're getting dental work, all sorts of things. So that's why you need to have the dental work covered. That's why you need to get doctors covered, medications in case you get some sort of infection where you need an antibiotic or something, or maybe you lose your own prescription medication and need a refill. A lot of the travel insurance options also have a network of doctors that you can access while you're traveling who can provide these services for you, either in person or by video, and then they will send you the prescription by email, and then you take it to the pharmacy. So there's a lot of pluses to technology today, so you won't necessarily have to worry about that. You want to have surgery covered because there are people who break bones on Camino for various reasons, not just because they're old and frail. If you twist your ankle and go down the wrong way, that could be a broken leg. Okay, knock on wood, that does not happen. But there's a lot of things that can happen while on Camino. You also want to have, going back to the flights, you also want to be able to have an immediate family member be able to fly out to you and have their return flight covered in case of death of yourself. You may or may not realize this, but there's actually quite a few people who die on Camino every year. And a lot of them are from health complications, okay? Some are known, and I'm gathering there's some that aren't known, because even though you're walking, there's a lot of physical exertion, and sometimes we have underlying medical conditions that we're not aware of until we're in that situation. So, in general, it's pretty good to get maybe a once over and the okay to travel from your doctor. before you go. And you should definitely get that if you do have major health conditions. So when I'm talking about health conditions, like for me, I have ulcerative colitis, so I need to carry my medication with me. I needed to make sure I wasn't in a flare and that I knew how to manage that while I was gone. But my travel insurance would cover if I needed to come back in case something went wrong. I've seen other people where I met a woman in Pamplona where she had walked, I think, 2 days and she was having to fly home because her hip felt kind of squishy, which is usually a sign it's about to break. So she was going home to have it looked at, probably get a hip replacement, and then she was planning to come back to Camino. That was in 2023, so I hope that she's been able to do that and recover since then. Other things that could happen are, like I said, gashes to the head, broken bones. There's people who have to be medevaced out by medical helicopter, depending where they are and depending on the situation. Overall, just be really smart about the activity you're doing. And, oh yes, other conditions were things like, atrial fibrillation, tachycardia, that sort of stuff. There's people who, because of perhaps medical devices implanted in them, can't carry their pack. So that's where they use luggage transport, or they can only carry their pack for a certain amount of time. There's a lot of things to consider. There have also been people who, due to dehydration, have passed away. And that seems to, from the articles I've read, and I mean, who knows how skewed they are, but from what I've read about it, they get dehydrated, they start to get disoriented, and then something happens where they trip and fall, go down the side of a cliff, unfortunately, things like that. Is pretty rare otherwise. But I remember one area where the path was literally like probably about as wide as I am, okay? And it was 2 ways. And when I say 2 ways, that's because the locals walked the opposite direction of those of us on the Camino. And right along the left side was a drop-off. And I mean, you could see a parking lot far below, but I wouldn't want to be falling and rolling down to that. There would definitely be some serious injury. So it was a little tricky to make sure I didn't trip on my own feet, to make sure I didn't trip on my hiking poles. And then you also have to take in mind that there's going to be people who are really impatient and rude. And yes, these are pilgrims. They'll be behind you in a single file line like this, and they're yelling for you to hurry up. Don't listen to them. They're on their own journey. They clearly have something to learn around patience. I have been the recipient of that a couple times. And there was another town while I was walking into, it's very steep going down, but very deep steps and rocks, like to the point I'm 5'9". Sorry, I don't know what that is in centimeters, Europeans, sorry. 5'9", and it was so big, the step, I had to actually sit down on the rock and scoot myself down. And there was a woman in front of me, she was taking her time, and she kept apologizing because we had guys behind us telling us to hurry up. And I just told her to take her time. There was no rush. And I told the other guys to shut the fuck up. Yeah. It's called manners. It's called respect. It's also called you'll get to where you need to go when you're meant to get there. But rushing someone that can cause potential harm and injury, that will be on you. And, maybe put yourself in that person's shoes, because that might be you that someone's telling to hurry up. And for whatever reason, you can't. Maybe you have an injured ankle. Maybe you have a balance issue. Who knows? But try not to judge and try not to be an asshole about it. Okay, when it comes to your travel insurance, make sure you have an electronic copy on your phone. Carry a paper version as well. Make sure someone back home also has both of these pieces so that if you, for some reason, lost yours, you can't find it on your phone, they can tell you, because there's usually a toll-free number you have to call before you can get medical attention. Obviously, in a real emergency, that number will be contacted after, because, life or death, life wins on that. But if it's, you need a refill on your heart medication, or in my case, the medication for ulcerative colitis, I would call the number first, just so that they've got the heads up and they tell you what the procedure is. Now, in terms of eSIM cards and phone plans, a lot of phone carriers these days have an international calling and texting plan. Check how much that is. In Canada, we do not have a lot of competition because various political reasons that I won't get into because they'll make me mad. But we don't have a lot of competition, and depending on your carrier, it'll cost you body parts. My carrier, which is Freedom Mobile, I do have a plan where I have my regular North American, Mexico calling, unlimited texting, all that. But it also has an international unlimited calling within the country that I'm at, as well as being able to call back to North America, as well as 10 gigs of data while I'm traveling internationally, and that's like per month. And I get all of that for one fee. It's really awesome. My mom, however, her provider is total garbage. TELUS, I'm calling you out. Because when she went to look at it, her plan was it for the 3 weeks we were going away, I think it was something ridiculous. Was it something like $15 a day? Per day? Come on, man. 21 days, that's $300. Seriously, kiss my ass. Okay, so double check. There's always options. This is also where an eSIM card comes in. These are electronic cards, so you don't have to fiddle with the physical cards, because one, I tried the physical card that was supposed to fit in my phone when I went in 2023. Surprise, surprise, it didn't actually fit. So then last minute, I'm searching, okay, what do I do for eSIM card? And so I found this app. Once again, I'm not affiliated, but I can also give you my link. And then if you use it, you get a discount, and then so do I. But if you know someone who already has this, or a different one where it's the same thing, use theirs, man. Help each other out. It's called Airalo, AIRALO. And it's an app. You install it on your phone, and then you go in. It's got so many countries to choose from. You choose the country that you want the SIM card for, and then you choose your data plan. And it comes anywhere from 7 days, 14 days to 30 days with X amount of data, 1 gig, 2 gigs, 5 gigs, 30 gigs, whatever. Okay. And you either have the number of days on the plan to use all those gigs, and then it runs out. Or once you hit the gig max, even if it's before the days allotted, then you have to buy a new card. But it's super easy. It does charge in US dollars, which is great if you're on US currency. For Canadians, not so much, but it's very easy to use. Okay. Installing it the first time can be a little complicated, and you only get one shot to install the eSIM card itself. Okay. Their customer service is amazing. However, it is only through email. So you will need to make sure that you have access to either internet, where you can connect into your email if you're overseas, or back home if you're having trouble. I did have trouble connecting to the network when I went to Cyprus for whatever reason, but I managed to get to where I was staying. And once I connected into the Wi-Fi, I contacted customer service, and they were fast. I'm not even kidding you, people. I sent them an email. I was this is what's going on. How do I fix this? Because I never had a problem through France, Spain, or Portugal, or the UK. And they literally got back to me in 2 minutes, and they're asking questions. I had to send screenshots. And so it went back and forth like that. And honestly, within 20 minutes total, from the time I sent my first email to the time that my eSIM card was working, 20 minutes. So they were on it. So try not to let that scare you that you can't talk to someone. They even sent me screenshots as to what I had to look for when I was going through my phone to help fix the problem. And for some reason, it was something in my phone that just didn't turn on a particular setting. I don't know what it is. I am not tech savvy. All I know is that it worked and I haven't had a problem. This is also a really good way to boost the number of gigs available to what your phone plan may already have. Like I said, mine has a 10 gig per month international limit. So if I'm traveling for a month and I'm just using my phone data, because internet connections are pretty spotty in Spain, they'll drop. There was like a 3 to 5 day section here and there on Camino Frances where I literally didn't have internet connection. My phone service, it was okay, but you're trying to conserve your gigs. But there were a couple days that didn't really have service. I had the bare minimum to send messages to my mom and a friend to let them know where I was. And then the internet would literally just drop. And it was just kind of hit and miss. In the bigger cities, that wasn't the case. I'm talking like more rural situations. Otherwise, I typically had phone service. The eSIM cards will give you access to internet, email, as well as your texting apps like Signal and WhatsApp. An eSIM card alone will not allow you to send an SMS text, okay? For that, you would need your regular phone plan. So if you're going to be messaging people, let them know it's through WhatsApp or Signal or Messenger or Instagram, anything that would connect with like a cellular signal, okay? Yes, that's the thing. That's the other thing. If you are contacting like albergues or making, flight plans or plans for train tickets to other destinations post Camino or even during, depending what your situation is, you'll need the eSIM card as well. But to contact albergues, you can message them through WhatsApp, and through the different apps like that, you can actually make a phone call. Okay, so it's not like having only an eSIM card means you can't have a phone call. It just means that you won't be able to receive a phone call like on your actual phone line. It has to go through one of the apps that has a calling feature in it. So keep that in mind. I know this can sound a little complicated. I was concerned as well, but it did work out. And trust me, if I can do this, you definitely can. Like I said, their customer service for Airlo was on point. Okay, so thank you, Airlo. But there's a lot of other eSIM cards. That's just the one that I happened to use. So check your local provider, ask around to friends, who travel a lot. And if you're on like different things like in the forums, people will also mention, but this one tends to come up a lot and you just have to pay attention because like I said, it can be a little complicated sometimes, but otherwise I was able to switch when I was on the bus going from Spain to Portugal. I had installed the Portugal eSIM card the night before because I needed the Wi-Fi to do that. And then while I was on the bus, I switched it to Portugal. And then once we crossed the border into Portugal, I got the notification that I was live and online with that. And that's how I did it through UK, France, Spain, Portugal, as well as Cyprus. When I was in Italy last year, by that point, I already had my international phone plan, but this one worked really well. And I do plan to add this on just for extra Wi-Fi support while I'm traveling this fall. All right, so that's it for today. I hope that helped you out so you don't have to worry too much. These are essentials because to be in communication with people is important. And also the international phone plans will help you make phone calls if you do need the assistance with your travel insurance. Okay, so please do me a favor. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, please share to all those that you know or might know that are interested in Camino. And until next time, Buen Camino.